Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to Shorty September 2025, which actually ends today. This is a BookTube event all about the little books on your shelves, the tiny little strivers and strugglers. And I've had a great Shorty September this year, as I do every year. And I threw one last Shorty September on the pile for last night. I reread The Solar Invasion by Manly Wade Wellman. This is a Captain Future novel. Not most of them not written by Manly Wade Wellman, but this one was. And I always try to look for distinctive tastes, distinctive touches of any author who steps into some author's shoes. Didn't really see that with this. I've never really seen that with this book. But I loved it, of course. It starts out with someone stealing the moon. Earth's moon, that is. And it goes on from there to warlords of Mars and aliens from another dimension. And at the heart of it all, there's Captain Future and his future men. And I asked recently in a recent video if the Captain Future franchise is still owned. Does someone own this? Because I got an old science fiction magazine from 40 years ago where Alan Steele does a Captain Future story. And a number of you wrote to me and said not only that, but Alan Steele's done a lot of Captain Future stuff, and that he definitely needed permission to do it. So there's an active Captain Future estate. Literary concern. I don't know why nothing's being done with it. There's some terrific ideas embedded in here. Steele certainly does a lot. That story, The Death of Captain Future, was wonderful. And he did a lot of inventive stuff with the basics in here. Of course, the basics in here are what I like to refer to a little colloquially, no offense to Albert Einstein, as pre-science. Certainly they're pre-modern science. So you've got all sorts of things in here that we know now don't make any sense. When did this story first come out? 1946. Yeah, so I sometimes affectionately refer to these things as pre-science, even though I know that's not true. But still, this is more of an adventure story where Captain Future and the Future Men are immediately involved, and they are fighting one set of bad guys or held prisoner briefly by another set of bad guys. There is a virtuous young woman and a not-so-virtuous young woman. They are all both on the cover here. And then at the heart of it all, there's Captain Future himself, who Manly Wade Wellman at one point describes to us. And I want to read it to you because it stuck with me this time around. Of the many master qualities that made Captain Future the greatest defender of the Commonwealth of Worlds, perhaps the greatest, commentators have agreed, was the force and speed of his thought. Born of the brilliant Roger and Ethel Newton to a heritage of science and intellectual might, reared and schooled by Simon Wright's peerless brain supervision, seasoned by travel and adventure and study on the strangest and most surprising of planets throughout the galaxies, Kurt Newson, that's Captain Future to you, was more than the foremost scientist of all civilizations. He was the foremost thinker, concrete, abstract, philosophical, and strategical. The rapid classification of facts that led to his decision about the dimensional theft of the moon that had amazed even his companions was not as effortless as it had seemed. It was only that Kurt Newton could and did think and decide with the rapidity of light. Now, okay, there's a germ in there of something that I would really like to have seen explored in the Captain Future books, and it never is, which is that bit about the commentators. The fact that Captain Future is not only the hero of these stories, but is also known to be a hero. That there are stories written about him, televids made of him. Barely anything is done with that. And that's fascinating. That largely does not exist for Buck Rogers or Flash Gordon. That extra element, that meta element, I think is fascinating. So it was a little bit teasy to get that and not get anything else. But the thing I wanted to comment upon from that passage is that nowhere in any Captain Future novel that I have read, I don't have them all, I haven't read them all, but nowhere in any Captain Future novel that I have read is that super intellect on display at all. Not at all. When he comes to his solution about the dimensional theft of the moon in this book, it's simply Manly Wade Wellman, who knows what the solution is because he's barely thought out the book. There is no actual way that Captain Future himself would know. But it's not just that. It's every other circumstance. He has all sorts of challenges in this book. And in a different kind of book, the writer would see them as, and the protagonist would treat them as, intellectual challenges. He punches and blasts his way out of them every time. He doesn't even think, much less think deeply or with rapidity. So I read that and thought, well, okay, that Captain Future would probably be interesting to read about. But no, no, we don't know what the commentators say about Captain Future, aside from apparently unbroken praise, and we don't know a lot of those adventures that he's had on all the worlds in the galaxy. So we don't know that. We don't know how he's had those adventures. How did he go from one even local group to another, much less one galaxy to another? There's world building to be done in the world of Captain Future, but I didn't care. Of course, I didn't care. This is pure pulp. And by the 2/3 part, all I wanted to know was, well, what's coming around the next corner? It's not even a question of the larger plot anymore. Of course, I was expecting, the first time I read this, I was expecting that sooner or later the moon is going to go back where it belongs. But it's not just, when it comes to pulp writing, it's just a question of what's going to come around the corner next. And I was never disappointed. This was just a blast. So I ended Shorty September on a strong note, on a very strong note. I'm going to put away Captain Future until next Rocket Summer, until next Shorty September. Maybe I'll have more Captain Future novels by then. But anyway, that was it for Shorty September. I had a wonderful time. I hope you did too, if you read some short works. And I'll wrap this up for now and see you all for Shorty September next year. Thank you too.